What's the next part of rewriting your narrative? In the last video, Rewriting Your Narrative Part 1, we talked about getting the story straight and about needing to be open to the possibility that there are other interpretations, that there's another side of the story that you are telling yourself. And what I meant by that, just to recap briefly, and you can catch the video, the links here. What I meant by that is that the story that you're telling yourself is from your perspective, the way that you have interpreted events. And especially when trauma is involved, that interpretation will not be accurate. It will not be full and complete. It is scientifically proven that trauma literally rewires your brain. I'm a childhood rape survivor. I was raped by a classmate when I was 7 years old, and I didn't tell anyone until my senior year of college. It became a 15-year secret. In between that time, I have learned since that my brain tried to tell me that it was my fault. I was applying knowledge from a grown adult to a 7-year-old child, and I was not being fair to her. One of the hardest things my counselor had me do when we were dealing with the rape was for 10 times a day, for a week, look in the mirror with my eyes open and say out loud, the rape was not my fault. And it started out with, rape was not my fault. Rape was not my fault. And it was very obligatory. It was very low, had very little emotion. I certainly was not buying into it. And as I continued the homework for the week, after about a day or so, it started taking on a different tone. It started to become, the rape was not my fault. The rape was not my fault. The rape was not my fault. And the anger was starting to come out a little bit, but it was also starting to put the focus on who was really at fault. Who was the one to blame? Who was the one that did something wrong that day? And it took a long time, but I can now look at you and say, I didn't do anything wrong that day. I survived, and that's a hell of a feat. Not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. The only person that did anything wrong that day was my perpetrator. Now, that doesn't exonerate him. It puts the responsibility where it belongs, and it let me off of my hook. That was one of the steps to rewriting my narrative. My narrative had been, I'm a screw up. It's my fault. Everything, I did something wrong. And that continued to grow to be that anything I did, I must have done something wrong. I became over responsible. I became a people pleaser. I became someone who had to make sure everything and everybody was okay. Part of rewriting your narrative is looking at another perspective. As you look at another perspective, the next step to rewriting your narrative is to put the responsibility where it belongs. None of this work of rewriting your narrative can really be done by yourself. You got to this faulty narrative by believing the things that you were telling yourself. You came to this faulty narrative because you tried to be a Lone Ranger. You tried to be a superhero. You tried to do it on your own. And to rewrite your narrative means that you need to get other people involved because they can help bring that outside perspective. I never would have come to the conclusion that the rape was not my fault if I didn't have a counselor working with me. And we were working together a number of years before we could get to that point because I didn't have boundaries at that point in time. When I first started with Amanda, and I didn't know what a boundary was. We've talked about it numerous times, and we said that we had to get me stronger in the present before we could go back to the past. You cannot rewrite your narrative on your own because your narrative became faulty on your own. So to have that outside perspective is to have someone speak some truth into your life, to have someone else who can give you a different angle to consider and can help you work through those fears and those doubts and those things that you are telling yourself, those entrenched ways of being, that entrenched narrative, that story you're telling yourself. To rewrite it means you need to bring somebody else in that can shine a little bit of a flashlight on. In this video, we're just talking about getting another perspective, bringing in that outside perspective. So where do you get that from? It might be workshops. It might be through a life coach. It might be through a counselor. It could be through different ministries, different groups that are available. There could be a number of different ways. There could be books. There could be studies that you do. There could be so many different ways, because each one is the next layer, is the next source that is continuing to give you information. You have come to this faulty narrative by staying locked in your own way. And now the next step is to broaden that horizon, to bring about other resources, books, speakers, podcasts. In the description of this video, I will list some of the different resources that are out there, a couple things that I have found helpful, a couple books, a couple studies, maybe podcasts to listen to that are just another drop in the bucket of starting to tip the scale, of having a different perspective, of thinking about things from another angle. It's doubtful you're going to get there overnight. I don't know many people that do. But each resource, each time you are putting another weight on the scale to balance out the story you're telling yourself, over time that is going to increase. Over time that weight is going to take hold. And as you continue to bring in other resources, other people, other options to continue to speak into your life in one way or the other, you will find that you will start considering another perspective. You will find yourself starting to catch yourself in some of the faulty narrative, those self-talk things that we've talked about. As you find those tapes starting to play, then that outside resource is going to be able to start coming in and challenging that faulty narrative. That is the next step. That is the next step to rewriting your narrative. In the next video, we're going to talk about some of those other resources that are out there and give you some concrete steps to take, some of those resources and what they have to offer you, so that you can continue to pour into yourself and find the new narrative. Because the circumstances that you have experienced do not have to define you. You are the one in control, and you can define them and the effect they have on your life.